Welcome to the Sports Phenom Show. I am the Phenom, owner of Sports Betting Phenoms, and I'm here for week 6 of your MLS action, where I'm going to have another 3 best bets for you to take advantage of through 5 weeks. I'm already kicking serious ass with a more than solid 9-4, 70% pace on the season. I continue to get the job done and prove why I am the number one capper in sports, professional gambler on the market, on the planet. I get the job done. No matter what sport I do, I win, and I win consistently, and I win bigger and better than anybody else. Plain and simple. I've been proving it here ever since I started this YouTube channel, ever since I started doing these YouTube videos. NFL, I absolutely destroyed the season. Nobody could even come close. No one. And I mean not even close. All the proof in the pudding on all of those videos from this past season for you to take advantage of. If you want to take a look and see for yourself, if you didn't follow me all season, make sure you do next season. I did every game. I capped every single selection of every single game and every single week for this past season. By following me, folks, now in the MLS and in every sport I do, I will be the only source that you will ever need. Plain and simple. So let's get right to it. I'm going to start with your first game here this week with the Toronto FC at home to the Vancouver Whitecaps. Whitecaps leading the Western Conference, surprisingly, to start the season with a 4-win and 1-loss mark after 5 games. While the Toronto FC sit in the basement tied with CF Montreal with only 1 draw and 4 losses in 5 games to start the season. Well, you would think, just looking at the standings and the way these two teams have started off the year, that Vancouver would be the play here. But I'm actually going to lean with my first best bet here on the Toronto FC. They're going to be back at home here for this one after 4 straight losses, and they've had a tumultuous start to the season, to say the least. They've had some problems with injuries. Their back line hasn't been a full squad of starters for any of these first 5 games, and they've also had some injuries up front where newly acquired Ola Brynhidston hasn't had a start that's played the whole entire game yet this season. He's the Norwegian international they brought in at center forward to take over for Prince Aluso, who they lost to Montreal in the offseason. So that'll be a big part of getting back in the win column here in this one. He is expected to return. Toronto FC is also getting back captain Jonathan Osorio, Tyrese Spicer, and Delby Flores back from international duty, which will also be a big boost. Now, the main reason, however, why I am taking Toronto in this spot is not only are they desperate for their first win of the season, but Vancouver has just played an absolute plethora of games to start the season here. Almost basically 2 games a week if you include all the Champions Cup games they've had. They've already had 2 rounds in that, winning their first round about a month ago, and now they come off a very big win against Monterrey in a 2-leg set. That was a shocker, to say the least. They've just been surprising to start the season, but all that action, as mentioned, now has really taken its toll as they had a 3-1 loss at home to the Chicago Fire, who aren't expected to do much this season. So right there, you can see now the first signs of tired legs, all the traveling back and forth that they've done. Don't forget, they're West Coast here, so when they make those East Coast trips and down to the Southwest, it's a lot of airtime, a lot of tired legs, and as mentioned, it showed now in that last game, and I think it's going to show again in this one as they're doing another cross-country trip all the way to the East Coast to play Toronto. It's a 5-hour flight, folks. And not only that, but on top, they're used to playing in the Dome. They played at some nice weather games in those Champions Cup and also against the opponents they've had in Dallas for one game. Another one was at home to Montreal and LA, and they started off in Portland. So they've had great weather in all their games thus far. They're going to be walking into Toronto, who's got snow, sleet, hail, rain, a mixture of all that in a cold afternoon game of only 2 degrees. This is also going to be in the favor of Toronto FC. I also like what Toronto did last week, bringing back Lorenzo Insigne, inputting him into the lineup in the midfield, where he's very creative, smart player who's allowing Toronto to have a better control of the game in the midfield, make some good passes to his Italian counterpart in Federico Bernardeschi. So it definitely looked like things were starting to come together a little bit better there for Toronto FC last weekend. It was a very strong performance in a 2-1 loss against the New York Red Bull teams, who's off to a strong start here on the season. So this simply comes down to a very desperate Toronto FC team looking for their first win. They're starting to get a lot of injured players back. They're starting to put together a lineup that's going to be more formidable and definitely going to be more challenging for their opponents. And then you're looking at a very tired-legged Vancouver Whitecap team, again, traveling 5-hour flight from the West Coast to the East Coast after all those games, still playing 2 games a week at this point. This is a very nice, solid selection on Toronto FC, and we're getting a very nice line where we can take advantage of Toronto FC here in this home position, plus the half goal. So even a draw will get us the win. I love Toronto here to get it done. I truly believe they're going to get their first win of the season. For those of you interested in sprinkling a little bit on the money line, you're getting almost 2-1 odds. Can't beat that. So a little added sprinkle there. Why not? Nothing worse than a draw here, in my opinion, which gets us the win. So that's my first of 3 best bets for week 6 action. Let's start with the Toronto FC. Next game, my second of 3 best bets for week 6 MLS action will be on the game between California rivals, new rivals at that San Diego FC at home against LAFC. We're getting a very nice line on LAFC. That's the first thing that stood out to me right away. Almost 2-1 odds on an outright win, just like Toronto FC in the previous best bet I just gave you. So I started looking into this game with the attractive line, and I like what I saw. Let's first start off with San Diego, who's been a very nice surprise to start the season as a new expansion team. Has gotten off to a very quick 2 wins, 2 draws, and only 1 loss thus far in their first 5 games. And that puts them only 1 point behind in 4th place from 3rd place, LAFC, who's had 3 wins and 2 draws. LAFC coming off a solid 2-0 win in Sporting Kansas City last week, while San Diego wasn't able to pull off against the win against Austin FC. They lost there 2-1. Big thing I'm noticing right away, these expansion teams usually get off to decent starts, which they did, winning 2 of their first 3 games, and they were unbeaten through 4 before finally having that first loss last week. And I believe that's going to be a trend now of coming back down to earth here as the season progresses. And LAFC clearly showed last week they're very formidable on the road, even in cold weather. Well, this one, they don't have to worry about that. They won last week in cold Kansas City. This one going to be in the beautiful weather of California in San Diego. And I just don't understand the line. I'm back to the line here again. You're almost getting 2-1 odds for them to win outright. It's another scenario we can take them plus a half on the draw and still get the win. That, to me, is the play. Not to mention the fact that LAFC is the much better team. San Diego will probably be somewhere down in the non-playoff pack when all is said and done. And really, what more is there to add to this? This is a truly a bargain of a line. I absolutely love it. No one's missing any key players in this game. I've looked closely at the lineups. Everything looks solid. Dennis Bwanga, for those of you who might be wondering, will be back from his international assignment with Gabon. So everything's good there. LAFC is the play here. Take them on the same line that I gave you with Toronto FC, plus a half. So a draw or an outright win gets us in the win column. And sure, why not? Let's sprinkle a little on the money line in this one too. Almost getting 2-1 odds. Why not? That's your second of 3 best bets. Next game, and this is going to be my final of 3 best bets, with Inter Miami at home to Philadelphia Union. Well, another surprise, Philadelphia Union, just like Vancouver is a big surprise on the western side of things. Philadelphia also first in the Eastern Conference with a very quick 4-win and 1-loss performance through 5 games, putting them 2 points ahead of 4 other teams tied with 10 points in Charlotte, Inter Miami, who was Philadelphia's opponent here in this one, Nashville, and also another surprise, Chicago Fire with an early strong start to the season. But Philadelphia, what a start. They were able to pull off a road win to start the season in Orlando, 4-2. Then they had a big, huge home opener with a 4-1 destruction of FC Cincinnati. Not many saw that coming, but they followed it up again the following week with another road victory, this time in New England. Last week, they got the job done also at home against St. Louis, and their only loss was a surprising one there after such the strong start with the loss to Nashville. But hey, Nashville also showing a strong start with that 4th spot in the standing right now, and one of those 4 teams that's only 2 points behind Philadelphia. So very, very strong start for Philadelphia here. Now, we all know about Inter Miami, who's not only in the favorite in the Eastern Conference, but favorite to win the Supporter Shield and the whole shebang when all is said and done. Usually the main questions with Inter Miami every week is if Messi is going to start or not. And you know what? He's questionable for this game, and I actually love Inter Miami in those spots. Now, I've taken Inter Miami in general already here a few times this season. The only time we didn't get the job done was that first game where they got that early red card that cost us the win there. But we've won the other 2 times, and I like them here again in this one. It really comes down to the line. If it's really a big, huge, high line, obviously we got to stay away from that. We would be risking taking any stupid, crazy high lines. But in this game, with Messi questionable, we're getting a very reasonable line. And that's why it's an attractive spot for me to consider taking Inter Miami, especially with them 2 points back of Philadelphia. Nothing more than guys like Messi, Busquets, Alba, and all the other big names, Suarez from Inter Miami, seeing some added incentive and motivation for a game like they do here in this one, knowing that Philadelphia is the team ahead of them. So that'll just create more motivation for them to get the job done here in this one. As I said, with the line being attractive, I think we're around minus 150 right now. That's the highest line that I will give out, or anybody will give out, any of my cappers on the site. By the way, we're one of a few services. Actually, I think we might be one of the only services that does that and has that in an official rule of the site. So no straight up bets higher than minus 150. That's what they are here in this game. And with the added motivation, and even with Messi questionable, and why we're getting that line to top it all off, that's the added incentive. If he doesn't start, we know he's going to come in the second half, so you don't even have to fear, even if the game's tied or whatever it may be, you know, they should be able to pull it off in the end when he comes in and he takes care of business. Even without him, by chance, if he doesn't play, I still think there's more than enough talent on Inter Miami to get the job done. I do believe that Philly will come back down to earth. It is a very surprising start, a good start at that. But who have they played? I mean, really, who have they played? Orlando hasn't had a great start to the season. They're in 9th in the Eastern Conference. They beat FC Cincinnati, which was probably their best win of the season. But FC Cincinnati's lost a lot of star players. Acosta for one from last year, and they don't even sit in a playoff spot right now in 10th. Currently in the Eastern Conference. They also beat New England, who was in last place of last year. They're 13th again here this year. And St. Louis. An okay team, but nothing special. They're also in the mix in the middle of the pack in the Western Conference. So who have they beat? Nobody. Folks, this is a great line with a questionable Messi. We're getting it at a great number if he was playing, and if Philadelphia had played some better teams along the way and didn't have this 4-1 record to start the year, Miami would be way over minus 200. So that is the bargain. That is the play to take advantage of. And that will conclude my third and final best bet for MLS Week 6 action. So that'll conclude your 3 best bets for this week's action. Let me repeat them to you once again. We have the Toronto FC plus a half. We have the LAFC plus a half. And we have Inter Miami. Take them, laying the 150. I am the Phenom, wishing you all an amazing Week 6 in MLS action. And I'll be back again, once again, next Friday for your weekly MLS Best Bets. Let's get this money. See ya.